Well, I first met Bernard in 1981 and very quickly learned that his name was pronounced Bernard. And I've been correcting people's pronunciation of his name for some 20, pretty soon will be 30 years. And the new little 3Com corporation probably had a dozen employees. We were building our first Ethernet cards, and we got Bernard as a consultant to help us design our first printed circuit cards, which he did famously well. And the Ethernet cards wasn't his last project for us. He also built our first Ethernet-based workstation and was amazingly successful at producing it below budget and on schedule. And somehow he ended up not doing our second Ethernet workstation, which failed. So you see, Bernard worked on our first one, it succeeded. He didn't work on our second one, it failed. You see that there's a correlation there.
Bernard, I also remember, as playing an extraordinary role in the defeat of ATM. When the whole world thought that ATM was going to be the dominant form of network technology, Bernard was not only one of the few people who didn't believe that was so, he was one of the few people who actually made it so it wasn't so. So his ability to confidently see the future in an effort that basically was contrary to what the industry's received wisdom was at the time was, a remarkable chapter, I think, in the history of network technology that will finally be told.
I think the revolutionary thing that Bernard did in evolving networking technology from generation to generation to generation was turn conventional thinking on its head. The conventional thinking is always to protect your technology and close it to your competitors. Bernard did exactly the opposite and opened his technology to enable competition to seed the market. Looking back, I think that's probably one of the single most important reasons why the industry has grown to the extent that it has grown.
Whenever there's been a need to invent some new technologies for the future of the Ethernet, it's been mostly Bernard that's been in the lead pack and had the lead ideas on how to do that.
Gigabit Ethernet in particular actually has had enormous impact. It's obviously immeasurable. Whenever we're at work doing computers, working on computers that are hooked to a network, it's going to be through the standard protocol that you use is going to be Ethernet or Gigabit Ethernet, which is actually Ethernet on steroids.
I don't see Bernard that much anymore. I haven't seen him in a few years, and I miss him. Hi, Bernard. Good to see you. And I miss him for two reasons. One, he's an excellent engineer, world-class, top tier. But the second is he's a world-class individual. He's just one of the straightest arrows I've ever met.
I was fortunate to have met Bernard in the early 90s. Earliest recollection I have of him is telling me how he liked to build things and solve technical problems. And 15, 17 years later, I didn't realize how prophetic that statement was, because everybody knows Bernard as a solver of technical challenges, builder of companies and technologies and markets. But he has done a terrific job also building careers and building people and making everybody around him better professionally as a person, and in the process helping their families as well.
Bernard is a builder, not only in technologies, but also of individuals and people. He was always willing in our board meetings to talk about opportunities for individuals to grow and to expand. And it was a sincere interest of his that people actually had opportunities and could grow and had support. He's also just a builder of communities. I know he spends a lot of time with philanthropic causes and just in every way, in family. And the other thing about Bernard is you'll find he's incredibly honest. And in business, where there's a lot of money and a lot of things going on, he was the type of man that when he said something with a handshake or said something to your face, he did it.
Bernard is very determined to be honest and straightforward and to deliver the goods. He religiously under-promises and over-delivers, and he's in the first tier of people like that, people that you can rely on and count on.
Enormously brilliant guy who's got tremendous focus on what's important and what's not.
He's a giant of a man, physically and figuratively as well. I have never had the pleasure of working with someone as well-rounded as Bernard. And as the saying goes, alongside a successful man stands an equally good, strong, and supportive woman. And I think it is a credit to Marcia, who had a significant impact in developing the family values that the family has. As a family man, he laid down a great foundation and taught his family to appreciate the virtues of hard work and dedication, that no job is too small, and to do it to the best of their abilities.
Well, it's exciting for me that he's actually receiving this award, specifically in part because he's willing to accept it. Those who know Bernard Daines know him as a person who really sheds the light, and he's always wanting to stay sort of behind the scenes. He's a builder, he's a technologist, he's a scientist at heart. And I know that he has been nominated for many, many awards.
Phenomenal role model, and most importantly, a very special, a very caring, a very loyal friend. On behalf of all of us that have worked with you, Bernard, over the years, helping you build the things that you cared about, congratulations on this honor.
Well, I was a Boy Scout, and I was not surprised to learn later that Bernard Daines is also a Boy Scout. And I remember what it means to be a Boy Scout, and he is it. He is, as I'm fond of repeating, trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. God bless Bernard Daines.